very much. And yes, you did say it correctly. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for participating in this. My name is Jen Ostafinsky, and I am one of the category managers at CPS. You can see my email there, jaostafinsky@cps.edu. Any questions, please feel free to reach out. Next slide, thank you. So as most of you are probably very well aware, Chicago Public Schools is the third largest district in the nation. We are behind only New York City and LA, just a little fun trivia for you. We have over 350,000 students in over 600 schools. So we are very large, which you live in Chicago, obviously you're very familiar because you can't go probably 3 or 4 blocks without seeing another school. And so because we are so large and we have so many different schools and we are such a diverse population, we have a lot of products and services that we need, either individual school-based or for the entire district. Next slide, please. So there are a couple of different ways, 2 main ways that you can become a vendor with CPS. Now, if you want to do business with CPS, you have to have a vendor number. That is the way that you will get a PO, and you cannot do any work without having a PO. So the 2 ways to get a vendor number with CPS is, the first is to be sponsored. That can be done by a principal, a network chief, or the head of a department. Majority of them are done by principals. The sponsorship is a way to do business without having a long-term contract. It is geared towards vendors who are on the smaller scale. You're just looking to do business with a handful of your neighborhood schools, or half a dozen, something like that. You own a bakery and think that your cookies would be great teacher appreciation gifts, for the principal to be giving to their teachers at Christmas or something like that. The way that you would go about this is to talk to those principals, your kids' principals, your nieces and nephews' principals, the neighborhood principal, whomever, whatever school you think could use your services. And if they decide that they want to make a purchase from you or use your services, they would need to sponsor you. They know what that means. They should know how to do it. They just go into our internal system, put in all of your information. It gets sent over to the procurement department, and we either approve or reject it. Once you have a CPS vendor number, you can do business with any CPS school, not just the one that was sponsored to you. You only need to be sponsored once. And like I said, once you have your vendor number, you can do business with any school in the district. The caveat to that is the schools have a limit of $25,000 a year with each vendor for each school. So like I said, we'll use the bakery example again. If you have a local bakery and the schools can purchase up to $25,000 worth of cookies and donuts and whatever from you, and every school can make the purchases up to $25,000. So if you're out there hustling and bustling, you can make some good money off of CPS just by having an active vendor number. Your vendor number will stay active for 12 months from the time of the last PO that you received. So as long as you're continuing to provide services or products to CPS, your vendor number will remain active. The other caveat to that is, if you are in the trades business, if you're a plumber or general contractor, carpenter, anything like that, you cannot be sponsored. We have a large pool of general contractors and another large pool of various trades vendors. The construction vendors are fully vetted before they become a vendor. We check for their certifications and their licenses, past work history, all that good stuff, because we don't want Uncle Joe coming in to fix a leaky sink and accidentally punch a hole in the wall. It's happened. So what should have been a $100 fix turned into a $10,000 repair. We obviously need to make sure that all the vendors that come in to do any sort of construction are licensed, bonded, insured, know what they're doing, all of that good stuff. So if you're on the trades side, or if you have a larger company that can handle a more substantial contract with CPS, the way that you would do that is to participate in a solicitation, an RFP, an RFQ, or a bid. Our contracts are usually 5 years long, and they cover the entire district. So like I said, these would be more for anybody who is a trades in the construction industry, or someone who has is a more established, larger company that can handle a contract that encompasses all of CPS. If you're interested in that, those solicitations are posted on our CPS procurement website. It is cps.edu/procurement, and you would go to the icon that says contracting opportunities open to the public. There is, that website is sometimes updated, can be updated daily. There's usually a new solicitation, I don't know, I'd say at least once a week. So I would keep an eye on that website, and there's also a place that you can sign up for alerts if you're interested in getting emails from us whenever we post a new solicitation. Okay, next slide, please. So, like I said, while vendors are able to do business with the district without a contract in most cases, the benefit to having a contract, if you are a larger company and feel that you can do business on a larger scale with CPS, is you're not subject to that $25,000 per year that limit per fiscal year. You are limited to the not to exceed amount that the board approves, but that is negotiated and decided beforehand, and it is always more than $25,000. And also, your goods and services are listed on our marketplace, which is where the schools go to find out what vendors we have for what services and what products. So you would be listed on our marketplace for schools to be able to use your services. So in that case, the schools would be coming to you instead of you having to go to the schools. Next slide, please. All right, Weeby goals. So we have an Office of Business Diversity, and it is there to enhance the economic opportunities for certified minority-owned and women-owned businesses in the Chicagoland area. Every contract has Weeby goals. Generally speaking, they are 30% MIBI and 7% Weeby. This is for any contract or any project, if it's a construction, that is over $75,000. The contractor or the vendor has to adhere to these goals. They can be adjusted depending on what the industry is and what the terrain looks like. But like I said, generally speaking, our goals are 30% MIBI, 7% Weeby. If you are a certified minority or certified women-owned business, you can, obviously, it would be 100%, whichever you are. If you are both, you can choose which one you want to use. You cannot be both MIBI and Weeby on a contract. CPS accepts certifications throughout the city. We do not certify ourselves, but City of Chicago does, Cook County does, the state does, I think the CTA does. We accept all of those or any governmental certification. And like I said, in certain cases, there are contract-specific goals. Our OBD office is great at, they know the terrain, they know what's out there, they know what's, what goals we're able to achieve. So if there is a high population of MIBI and Weeby vendors that are out there that can provide these services, those goals might increase. If there's not very much out there or not a great way to kind of split the contract out so that we can give opportunities to MIBI or Weeby, the goals might reduce. But generally speaking, goals for minority participation and women-owned participation is 30% MIBI and 7% Weeby. Next slide, please. Okay, if you are a vendor, or once you become a vendor, the first thing, once you get your vendor number, you cannot do any work or should not do any work without a PO. We run into this all the time, where vendors or schools will say, it's okay, just come in and clean these carpets and we'll figure it out later. You can do that, but it is at your own risk. If you don't have a PO, we cannot prove that we ever asked you to do the work, and you may not get paid. So once you get a vendor number, wait until you have a PO in hand before you do any work. Which also means you have to wait till you get a vendor number if you are not an active vendor, but trust me, it is worth the wait. Once you have performed whatever services or delivered whatever goods, and you would send an invoice to cpsinvoices@cps.edu. We don't accept paper invoices any longer, and please do not send them to the school or drop them off at the school or anything like that. The schools do not do their own invoicing. That is all done through the central office in accounts payable. If you have a question about a PO, you should go directly to whomever, the school that you are working with or the department that you are working with. If you can't get a resolution from them, then you can email the purchasing department, and we can help reach out to the department or to the school to assist you. But first and foremost, if you have a problem or looking for a PO or have a question about a PO, you would reach out to the person who wrote the PO to you. And if you have any questions about invoicing or payment inquiries, that would go to accounts payable. Their phone number is there as well as the email address. Next slide, please. Okay. So like I said, if you are interested in getting a contract with CPS, those are all posted on our website, which is cps.edu/procurement. You would go to the icon that says contracting opportunities open to the public. If you go there as well, you can sign up for alerts, which every time that we post a new solicitation, you would get a email alert, a notification letting you know what it is. I would also recommend bookmarking the website because the email alerts are done manually, and sometimes people are missed. So we don't want you to miss any opportunities. So bookmark the page, please. There's also a lot of information on there about everything I talked about with the spend limits, the $25,000. If you're trades, there's information about, the union, what our PLA agreements are. There's a procurement manual. So there's lots of information on there. And then, of course, if you have any specific questions, my email is also available to you. Thank you very much, and I look forward to any questions you guys might have.
Thank you so much, Jen. And now I'm going to turn over to Jacinta. If you have something in your background, because there's a whole lot of background noise, Jacinta. So I don't know if it's a fan, and I have to turn it off. Because on our side, we're hearing.
Are you hearing it from me? Are you hearing it from me? I apologize.
Yeah, it's perfect now. And I know we said that we were going to do it the other way, but can you upload your screen real quick for me?
Sure. Yep. Did you give me control? Sorry.
Yeah. 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You got it? Yeah.
Okay. Yep. All righty. Let me just get to my presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm having some screen problems.
Okay, no worries. Can everyone see the screen okay? Is it visible? It's visible.
Yes, we're good. We're
Okay,
perfect.
Great. So good afternoon. My name is Jacinta Epting, and I am the Associate Vice Chancellor for Business and Procurement Services at City Colleges of Chicago. I recently joined CCC on May 18th, to be very specific. Prior to that, my background was working on the outside as an attorney representing government agencies in their procurement matters. And I also worked at Cook County in their procurement office as their first special assistant for legal affairs. My email is also on this first page, and to the extent that any of you have any questions at any time that you would like to reach out and ask questions about CCC procurement, please feel free to do so and I will respond back. So today we are going to discuss a few matters. The first, I will provide an overview of City Colleges of Chicago. Next, I will go into the overview of our procurement authority and the different levels by which a vendor can provide goods or services to CCC. Following that, we will discuss supplier registration, how you actually register to become a vendor with CCC. We'll talk about some of the commonly purchased items that CCC buys, goods, commodities, and services, and we will follow that with MWBE requirements. So who is CCC? Who are we? Well, we are one of the nation's largest college community districts and the largest in Illinois. We have nearly 4,000 faculty and staff members. We help prepare more than 77,000 students each year to enter the workforce and pursue higher education and advance their careers. Just some additional information in terms of how we provide education to our diverse student body. There are a couple of ways that we do that. First is that we help CCC students with their high school equivalency, which is the GED or HiSET test. Next, we provide instruction for adult education instruction areas. Those are basic courses in adult education. They could also include English as a second language and preparation for the GED examination. Third, we offer continuing education instruction. Those are courses offered for short-term workforce training and non-credit courses. And finally, we offer credit courses, and those are courses offered to students who are pursuing an associate degree or also pursuing credit to be transferred in a four-year college or institution. A few more facts because we're very proud of it. Ourselves, we do have some four-year partnerships with several four-year institutions, including University of Illinois, the Chicago campus, Anne Urbana-Champaign, DePaul, Lewis University, and other institutions. In 2019, we had 7,659 students complete either their basic certificate or various associate degrees. So how do we provide all these services and where do we provide these services? As you will see on this slide, we have 7 campuses and 5 satellite areas. We also have 5 child development centers, a culinary institute, and a radio station. You will see the colleges listed below. These colleges are located not just in the Loop, but on the south and north side and west side of Chicago as well. All right, so district-wide spending authority. How do you do business with CCC? We have 3 levels here. The first is a purchase of less than $2,500. For those purchases, competitive bidding is not required. So similar to the example my counterpart gave with cookies, which made me very hungry during lunchtime, if you are a vendor, for example, that offers a specific tool or commodity, say, for example, you know that Truman offers cosmetology courses, and you have a sort of trimmer or some sort of or scissors that you think would be really useful to students who are participating and enrolled in those cosmetology courses. If the spend is less than $2,500, that college would be able to purchase that directly from the vendor. There's no competitive process required. I do need to stress, however, that $2,500 applies across the district. So if you're a vendor and you have goods or services that you need to offer, just know that that applies across the district and not to each individual school or user department. The next level purchases are for those purchases of $2,500 and up to $25,000. For this level, we engage in a small competitive process. And by small competitive process, what we mean are that the colleges and user departments are required to get 3 price quotations in writing. The price quotations should contain the same information to all vendors, require very specific information as to the goods or services that the college or user department is looking for, and should ask that the vendor provide a response by the same date so that there's transparency and fairness. At least one of the 3 vendors must be a certified MBE or WBE vendor, and we'll talk about a little later the certifications that we accept. User departments and colleges are required under this process to submit documentation showing their due diligence and efforts to solicit a quote from a MBE or WBE vendor. Finally, the last level of purchase pertains to those purchases that are in excess of $25,000, where formal competitive bidding and board approval is required. So these are going to be our sealed bids or our request for proposals. You can go to our website and you will see board reports. Section 4 and 5 will give you awards over a number of years that we've awarded to vendors as a result of a bid or an RFP. For purchases under $25,000, as I stated, vendors will typically work directly with the various colleges or user departments. All right, let's talk now about if you are interested in doing business with CCC and you would like to become a supplier. So for every procurement opportunity, and by that I mean every opportunity by which a vendor can provide their goods or services, much like CPS, you are required to have a vendor number. When you receive a vendor number from CCC, typically it's good for a number of years. We, on a regular basis, look at our vendors to see if any should be removed or purged, but typically that only happens in extreme circumstances if a vendor has been inactive and has not provided any goods or services in a number of years. So what do you need to submit in order to become a vendor? The first thing that you are going to submit is your vendor list application form. As it states here, it's 2 pages. On that application form, you will complete information regarding your corporation type, whether you have certification as an MBE or WBE. You will also provide your contact information and your financial information, including your bank account information and ACH information. You will also notice on that vendor application that we ask for the number of years that you have been in business. And the reason for that is that CCC has a requirement that you have been in business for at least 2 years before a college or department can buy your goods or services. And the reason for that is really to prevent fraudulent corporate entities from providing goods or services, appearing on Tuesday and disappearing on Wednesday. The next document that you need to complete is the economic disclosure statement. And this is similar to the City of Chicago and the other sister agencies. For CCC, you need to list the interest of any owner that has an interest of 7.5% or more. We also ask, similar to some of the other sister agencies, that you make certifications regarding that you have not committed any offenses, not only towards CCC, but our sister agencies as well. The third document is our Irs W9 form. That's a standard document. Fourth, we have our purchase order terms and conditions. So many of you are probably familiar with purchase orders where the terms and conditions appear on the back side of the PO. We actually include those terms and conditions as a part of our application packet. Similar to the terms and conditions that you would see on a PO, you have provisions regarding that you recognize that the district is a legal entity, who you owe the duties and obligations to, that you agree to comply with provisions, including but not limited to the MWBE Board Approved Participation Plan, that you'll hold your prices firm, and that you'll also comply with certain warranties. The next document that we have is the acknowledgement of the district CCC's ethics orientation for contracts and vendors. So we have an ethics policy that applies to not only CCC employees, but our vendors as well. For purposes of the vendors, the most important thing to know is that vendors are prohibited from providing gifts to CCC employees. They owe a fiduciary duty to CCC. And there's also a political activity ban that applies to vendors as well. And that applies to any person who has done business or seeking business, being prohibited from making certain contributions in an aggregate amount of various thresholds, depending upon whether it's, an election year, a primary, or a general election. To the extent that vendors have questions regarding that, we work very closely with our ethics officer to resolve those issues. Finally, when completing your vendor application, you need to state the NIG commodity codes. We don't use NAICS, we use NIGP commodity codes. And to the extent that you have questions about that, there are several websites that provide the conversion between NAICS, if that's what you are more familiar with, if you've been dealing in the private sector, and the corresponding NIGP commodity codes. You see a provision here regarding the ACH setup. Again, we have that information in our vendor's application as well. And finally, the last provision here is that if you need to change your information, your contact information changes, your address changes, you can go to our website and update your form. Okay. Upcoming supplier initiatives. So we have been in preliminary discussions with stakeholders, and one of the things that we are looking to provide is to provide a vendor alert, like the City of Chicago, CPS, and several of our other city agents, the sister agencies provide. Right now, if you are interested in any procurement opportunity, you would have to go to our website, which is where we list all opportunities. We have the bid or RFP, addendums, due dates, or et cetera. But we are working because we do recognize the value of having an alert system so that anyone can know when an opportunity is available from CCC. We are also working to plan our quarterly workshops. We are in discussions with various stakeholders to determine which workshops we should present and when we should present them. Just to give you a bit of information about that, Our process in terms of other stakeholders includes not just procurement services and the departments providing goods or services, but we work very closely with our legal department as well. I do want to highlight something that my counterpart stated. Like any government agency, you should not begin work until you receive a purchase order. I think it's also important for vendors who have not done work with CCC to understand is that all board items 25,000 and up require board approval, but our process is bifurcated. So there is a possibility that after board approval, you may need to wait 3 or 4 weeks to actually get your contract because the contract is negotiated and executed following board approval. And I bring that up because often procurement services following the board approval will get emails and phone calls saying, where's our contract? You sent me a copy of the board report. I know that it was approved. Just understand that following approval, the actual contract negotiation occurs. Contract negotiation and execution occurs later. On this slide, we have some of our commonly purchased services and commodities. So we are an educational institution. As you can see from this slide, we're looking for a number of goods and services falling within the construction and maintenance category, the IT category, the education category, and by education, I mean the textbooks, and then those categories that allow us to actually provide the goods and services, the office supplies, the marketing, etc. Again, if you have any additional questions about our commonly purchased services and commodities, I would encourage you to browse our contracts that are on our browse CCC contracts. They're on our actual contracts. There are board reports, and those board reports will tell you the purchases that the Board of Trustees approved. It will also give you information for any goods or services that we purchase from our consortium vendors. On to MBE and WBE participation goals. So our goals are 25% MBE and 7% WBE. Currently at CCC, we are not setting contract-specific goals based upon our prior board-approved participation plan. These are the goals that we adopted to apply across all contracts. As I stated, for those contracts that are 2,500 up to 25,000, we ask that user departments submit or try to obtain the quote from an MBE or WBE vendor. For those contracts 25,000 and over, the way that you can meet this goal are you can be a MBE, WBE prime yourself, or you can meet the goal through a subcontracting plan or forming a joint venture. Only certified firms count toward the goal, similar to the city CPS and other government agencies. The dollar amounts are credited to either MBE or WBE, but not both. CCC does not certify, but it does accept certification from the firms listed: City of Chicago, State of Illinois, Cook County, Women's Business Enterprise, National Minority Supplier Development Council, and in some instances, other certifying agencies from other states or government entities on a case-by-case basis. Finally, we've included our key personnel. The contact information is currently listed. As you can see, we are a very lean and mean shop. The names listed on the left-hand side are the individuals who currently work in procurement. Ralph Casarelli, our Director of Risk Management, actually works in the Office of General Counsel, but we included his information because to the extent that there are questions regarding insurance requirements in any competitive solicitation, we have worked with Ralph and will work with Ralph to resolve and answer those questions. To conclude, we just encourage you to check out our procurement services website to get additional information on becoming a vendor, past procurement opportunities, current procurement opportunities as well. Thank you.
All right, so now we have gotten a host of questions for you ladies. That's what we were trying to sort out, which ones we could answer for you and which ones to pass on to you to answer. So I think I'm going to start with CPS. Both of you will be answering these questions, this particular question, I should say, because the person who wrote the question didn't specify who they wanted the answer from. So I'll give both of you an opportunity, but I'll start with Jen first. How has the economy affected the design and construction budget for FY21 in general terms? Do either one of you have any type of update on that? You can unmic yourself and go ahead and speak.
For CPS, the Department of Capital Construction does not have their FY21 budget yet, so we don't know how it's going to affect. Generally speaking, for CPS, most of the budgets for the departments have remained equal to what they were last year. But obviously capital construction has a little bit more different aspects that go into it. And the last 2 years have been the largest budgets we've had in recent history. So we're hoping it stays the same, but thanks COVID, we have no idea what's going to happen.
Okay. And Jacinta, do you have any comment on that at all?
Thanks. I would have to check with our Department of Administrative Services to see what the differences are in terms of budget between last fiscal year and this fiscal year. I'm not aware of any huge capital projects that are planned. We did just go to the board at our most recent board meeting to, seek approval for an extension of our job contractors. My understanding in some of the past conversations that we've had with our admin services are that any projects related to construction or renovation are more likely to deal with improvements to address health concerns for COVID when CCC staff and students all return to the schools and facilities. So filtering or HEPA filters, or maybe improving something for air conditioning systems or something along those lines. But I don't have any information beyond that.
Okay, thank you, ladies, for answering that. And I guess I would just add my little 2 cents to say stay tuned, because things are changing and things are being updated. And so maybe, shortly, if you want, you can go on the websites for either CCC or CPS and just, follow them as well, because they have people that are doing social media and are doing updates in different methods as well. So you will be able to get information through them as well. And anything they pass over to us, we definitely put it in the DPS alert, what I was talking about earlier. For those of you that came on a little bit later, we put out DPS alerts with information about workshops, outreach opportunities, and anything that may affect the business community that we feel that is important for you to know. So stay tuned with that. If you're not signed up for DPS alerts, feel free to go on our website, www.chicago.gov/DPS. And when you see the little letter icon, click on that, and it will ask you for your name and your email address, and you will be signed up for the alerts, and you will get any information that we possibly have. Before I ask this question to Jacinta, from CCC, because there's a question directly to you. I would just ask while we're waiting, Shakita Hall, if you could be a little bit more specific with your question, we will be able to get our presenters to answer it. So if you can give me a little bit more detail so we can pose the question to the presenters directly, we greatly appreciate it. The question that has come up for you, Jacinta, is are architects / engineer vendors, or is there a separate pre-qualification process for CCC?
Thanks for that. So in the past, CCC has leveraged the qualifications from one of the other government entities, whether that has been Public Building Commission of Chicago or another government entity that it's gone through and qualified the pool, and we take the vendors that are in that pool to determine if they are qualified as well, and then go through a process, sort of like a task order process, if there are opportunities to serve as an architect and engineer to provide the services that we're looking for. We have not in recent years put out our own solicitation, qualifications-based solicitation for those services. We are in discussions now about whether we will do that in the near future, or if we will, in the near future, leverage the pool from one of the other government entities.
All right, and last but not least, if a person has a vendor number, and I'm going to address this to Jen right now. If a person has a vendor number from a year ago, does that vendor number expire? Do they have to do anything to update it or anything like that? Can you give us a little bit more information as far as that is concerned?
Sure, of course. So our vendor numbers are valid for a year from when the last PO that you were issued. So if you did work for a school at CPS on, 8/11/19, and you haven't done anything since, then your vendor number automatically expires after 12 months of inactivity. If you are interested in reactivating your number, it's the same process as getting a new vendor number. You would be sponsored by a principal or a network chief or a department head. You would just let them know that you already have a vendor number. It's just a slightly different process. You would give them that vendor number. If you have it, let them know you have an old vendor number that is inactive. They will let the procurement team, the vendor management team know, so that we will just reactivate that old vendor number. You won't receive a new one, but it'll be the same process. You would have to get sponsored, we would approve it, and then there's a variety of paperwork that you would need to fill out to get the number reactivated.
All right. So this is the point where I asked, are there any additional questions? If so, you can type it out now so that we can get our guests to answer the questions. Very good questions, I should say. And in the meantime, while I'm going to give them a few minutes to type out their information, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. I wanted to first say thank you to Jen and Jacinta for presenting this great information. And this is what we do it for, so that do these presentations for, so that everyone can get information about our different sister agencies, what they're offering, opportunities, and information that they need to know that might be valuable to them in securing some of those contracts. So that's great stuff. If there are no additional questions, let me just take a second to just make sure no one has written anything. There was one question. Someone asked if this presentation would be available after, and yes, the PowerPoints will be available afterwards. And I think Rodney sent out a link for that. You can go on to the DPS website page and where we store our PowerPoints, and there might be another PowerPoint up there for this same topic, because as I explained at the beginning of this presentation, we switch them, or we rotate them every time we give this this topic, doing business with our sister agencies. We are family doing business with our sister agencies. So make sure you're looking at the in the one that says CCC and CPS, because this is the one that we're doing for today. Second of all, if you're trying to see a replay of this tape, that can be found on YouTube. And I gave the instructions at the beginning on how you can go over to YouTube and to our DPS page, and then in the search bar, put "We Are Family Doing Business with Sister Agencies," and the presentations will come up. I don't seem to have any additional questions, so I will say to our presenters, thank you, bravo, for giving us that great information. And to our participants, thank you for spending some of your afternoon with us. We hope that you come back to many more of our workshops to get additional information that perhaps could help you secure opportunities with these government agencies or the city sister agencies. We have all types of presentations, so feel free to look at the descriptions to make sure you're enrolling in the correct one that you want. And if you have any questions about that, you can always send us a copy, an email to dps.events@cityofchicago.org. Thank you so much. Hopefully, post this COVID-19, we will see you soon. So stay safe, wear your mask, social distance, and make sure we are washing our hands as we always do. And we will see you soon as we are able to bring back our participants to City Hall. Thank you so much for attending today, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.